Good day, everyone. So, our topic for today is about operating system fundamentals. So, throughout this course, you will learn about using computers. So, a computer is essentially a collection of electrical and mechanical parts referred to as hardware. So, each hardware part performs its own functions, and in order for all the parts to work together, they must be able to communicate instead of communicating directly with one another. The various components communicate via an operating system. Operating system fundamentals. In this lesson, you will study the features and functions of recent operating systems and learn how to start the PC and the way to access various features of the operating system. Upon completion of this lesson, you will be conversant with the functions of an OS, popular desktop OS, user account and profiles, power on and power off procedures, power options, using the start button, navigating the Windows desktop, using the taskbar, accessing the setting up, accessing the control panel, customizing the Windows desktop, the features of mobile operating system, and operating system updates. I'll make this presentation in three parts. Okay, so this will be the first part. Again, as I mentioned earlier, a computer is essentially a collection of electrical and mechanical parts referred to as hardware. So, the operating systems is a computer program. Okay? A program is a sequence of instruction that guides the computer through the performance of a specific task or sequence of tasks. The individual lines of instructions are referred to as code, and the term software refers to any program that makes computer run, including operating system and application programs. We need to take note that software developers write source code for their program in a human-readable format in order to prepare a program to be installed and used on a computer. The source code is converted into an executable format through a process called compiling. Compiling changes source code into a machine code. Every computer requires an operating system in order to function. Think of an operating system as the central manager of a communication, coordination, and control. Application programs, on the other hand, allow you to be productive, to create documents or complete specific tasks such as creating a budget, removing red eye from a photograph, searching the internet, or scheduling a meeting. An application program uses the operating system to control the hardware functions of a computer, and you as a computer user interact with the operating system whenever you log on to the computer or type on the keyboard, tap on a touchscreen, or use an application program such as an email program or word processors. So it works like this as what I have here. As you work in the application program, the program interacts with the operating system behind the scene. So the operating system manages hardware devices, control communication among hardware devices, and controls communication between application programs and hardware devices, and manage files stored on the computer. The evolution of the modern OS interface. Since the early days of personal computing, operating systems have evolved from simple monochrome text screens to full color point and click or tap interfaces. An interface is a point where two systems or people or network or devices meet and exchange information. Anytime you use a computer, join a network, or plug in a device, you communicate with it through an interface. Today's modern operating systems communicate with you through a graphical user interface, or the GUI or GUI. A GUI or GUI lets you use menus and clickable buttons or icons to start programs, move files, or perform other tasks. This makes it easy for users to work with the operating systems and get things done. Proprietary and open source operating system. Software is sold and or distributed with a particular type of software license. When you purchase a program, you are purchasing the right to use it. The ways in which you can legally use it are defined by the license that comes with it. Proprietary software. Most commercial software programs are proprietary. That is, they are owned by an individual or a company, usually the person or company that created it. The owner sells the executable copy of the software to users for use on their own systems and includes a license with the program. The owner also controls how the software can be used, if and how the source code can be inspected and or modified, and under which conditions, if any, it can be redistributed. Additionally, most commercial software is closed source. The software is released only in a compiled form and the source code is not released or made available. However, sometimes vendors will release sections of the source code to third-party developers who create enhancement routines or add-ons. When you install software, you must agree to the terms of the End User License Agreement, or EULA. In most cases, the license agreement is quite restrictive. For example, the license determines the number of systems on which you can install the software, and it usually prohibits you from copying and distributing the software to other users. You are also restricted from attempting to decompile or reverse engineer the code back into a human-readable format. You are restricted from making changes of any kind of the software. The open source software, in contrast to the restrictive licensing terms of proprietary programs, an open source software license makes the source code of the software freely available. Users are permitted to study, change, and distribute the software to anyone for any purpose. Actually, most open source software is distributed freely without charge. Although open source software does not necessarily need to be free, it is considered open source because the source code is freely available. Linux, FreeBSD, OpenBSD, and React OS are examples of open source operating system. Mobile operating system based on Linux, for example, various versions of Android are open source, but are often bundled with a substantial amount of proprietary software as well. Desktop operating systems. There are many types of operating systems in wide use today because there are many types of devices. You will focus on desktop operating system and mobile operating system by this time. A desktop operating system is one that is used on desktop and laptop computers. A desktop operating system is a large and robust program. It offers many features and provides a great deal of power and control over how the computer runs. Operating system version and editions. Operating systems are released in various versions and edition. An operating system version refers to the specific code base that was used to develop the operating system. For example, so we have Windows 7 and Windows 8 are different versions of the Windows operating system. An operating system edition determines which features are available. For example, various versions of the Windows operating system are released in varying editions such as Home, Professional, or Enterprise. Today, you can choose from several operating systems. You might like Windows, while your friend prefers Mac OS X and your teacher or colleague likes Linux. Almost all operating systems include a desktop, which is the screen that opens once you log on and are ready to begin working. Operating system desktops usually include colorful backgrounds, icons, or buttons for accessing commands, and a status bar to show which programs are open and running. The desktop is the central place from which a user interacts with the computer. So again, for Windows, we have 7, Windows 8, Windows 10. So the Windows 8 and Windows 7 desktop is shown here. So we have Mac OS X, designed by Apple for Macintosh computer. So they have version 10.9, 10.10, 10.11, and the Mac OS X are shown here. Okay, as what we have here. As I said earlier, Linux is free and open source operating system. You can find Linux installed on supercomputers such as those used by Google and NASA, but it is also installed on millions of home and business computers because anyone who uses Linux can modify it, and it is very popular with programmers. So we have a list of version of Linux are called distributions or distros for short. So some popular distros are Nopix, Ubuntu, and Gentoo. Then we have, of course, the Unix. No? Unix was one of the earlier operating system and was first designed for use on large mainframe computers and servers. So modern versions are available for desktop system and include a GUI or GUI. However, the GUI is separate from the operating system. Common operating system features. No matter which operating system you use, certain features are common among all of them. So, user accounts. In addition to managing communication, devices, and file storage, an operating system keeps track of who is using the computer. This is accomplished through user accounts. So you can think of an account as a special area on the computer where you can work and keep your files separate from other users. So for example, an entire family can share a Windows PC, and each family member would have a distinct account with his or her own username, password, and account settings. An account name and usually a password is associated with each account. Before you can run programs, open files, or use the computer to accomplish any type of work, you must log on using a valid user account. So, when you first power on the Windows computers, one of two things can happen. So, if you are the only user on the computer and your user account does not require a password, then you will be automatically logged on to your account and the desktop appears. If you are using a computer on which multiple user accounts have been set up, or if your user account requires a password, then Windows display an icon and account name for each user account, and you must log on to your account by clicking your account icon and entering your password. So as you can see here, this will be my user account actually. So Lenovo. No matter which operating system you use, certain features are common among all of them. Okay, now, account types. Operating system allows for the creation of different types of user accounts. Actually, in Windows, there are two readily available account types, standard user account and administrator accounts. So, of course, for administrator account, it enables you to make changes to the system that will affect other users. While the standard user account enables you to use most of the capabilities of the computer. Each type of account has a specific level of permission associated with it. Permissions are rules associated with objects on a computer, such as files, folders, and settings. Permissions determine whether you can access an object and what you can do with it. Everyone has permission to read, write, create, edit, view, or print files for their own account. However, only someone with an administrator account can see files created by other users on the system. Because an administrator account is created automatically when Windows is installed on a computer. If you are using your own computer, the account you create the first time you start up your computer is an administrator account. And you can then create additional administrator and standard user accounts. If you use a computer at your school or office, the system administrators will likely have already created an account for you. Your account may be an administrator account or a standard user account. Take note, computers you use in a school, library, or workplace are usually part of a computer domain. A domain is a network of computer systems that are controlled by a network administrator. Your ability to perform certain tasks, such as installing software, changing your password, or installing updates on a domain system can be tightly controlled by the administrator regardless of your account type. The account option. It is considered best practice to protect your computer and documents if you are going to be away from the system for any length of time. Two recommended practices are signing out of your account or locking your computer whenever you are away so that other people passing by cannot see or access any of your files. And of course, you can perform either of this task by clicking your user icon in the start menu and then selecting the desired option. So change account setting, lock, or sign out. So if you select sign out, all your programs and files are closed and you return to the Windows log on screen. User's profile. Each user account is associated with a profile, and a profile is a collection of settings that make the computer look and functions in a particular manner. A profile includes settings for elements such as the desktop background, lock screen, screensaver, pointer preferences, date and time format, and so on. Actually, when you log on to a user account, the setting in the associated profile are loaded and affect what is displayed on the desktop. And when you make customizations such as changing the desktop background or applying a sound scheme, those changes are saved in your profile so that the next time you log on to your account, all of your customizations are in effect. You will customize your profile later in our session. Built-in power of procedures. Powering on and powering off a computer are two different processes. When you first power on or turn on or switch on the computer, you press the power button. The computer runs a set of self-diagnostic programs to ensure that critical hardware is working properly, and then it loads the operating systems into memory. Once the operating system is loaded, you are either logged on to your account automatically or you log on manually. Although, you simply press the power button to turn the system on, and you should never simply press the power button to turn the system off. You should always use the operating system's power off or shutdown option. This option ensures that any changes you have made to the system are properly saved. In that, any temporary files which are no longer needed are deleted. So, starting a Windows computer, on many desktop computers, the power switch is located at the front or top of the system case. The most commonly used icon for a power button is like this. So, the computer performs a startup test and then loads the operating system files into memory. This process is also referred to as booting. When the operating system is loaded, Windows will display either a welcome screen followed by the desktop or a logo screen from which you must select your account. Actually, and perhaps enter your password. After you log on to your account, the desktop displays. Powering off a Windows computer. When you are doing or when you are done working, you should save your work, close any open programs, and then power off the system. So each operating systems include built-in power off procedures which you should use to ensure that files and programs are closed and that internal services are properly exited before the electrical power is cut off. In Windows 10, various options are presented in the power menu. So we have sleep, shutdown, restart, and the power. Take note, in Linux, the power off options are named halt, power off, reboot, and shutdown. In Mac OS X, the options are named sleep, restart, and shutdown. So understanding Windows power option affect the way your computer uses energy. Because we are often called away from our computers for various periods of time which fall inside our regular working hours, most operating systems provide option for reducing the amount of power the system uses. So for example, if you take an hour of lunch, you can use one of the power options on your computer to conserve power without having to shut the system off. Reducing power consumption is good for the environment and it prolongs battery life on a system that is running on a battery power. So Windows 10 provides several power options from which to choose. So this option includes sleep. Okay? Clicking sleep leaves the computer on but puts it into a mode where it uses less power than when it is awake. Hibernate. This option is found on laptop only. Shut down. The computer closes all files and programs, closes the operating system, and turns off the power. Then the restart. Windows closes all open files and programs, exits the operating systems, and restarts the computer without turning off the power. Looking at the Windows 10 desktop. The Windows desktop is the main screen on which program windows, icons, menus, and dialog boxes appear. Your Windows 10 desktop should look similar to the following screen as what I have here. Okay? You will notice several objects or icons on the desktop. These vary from the system to another depending on how the computer is configured. So, we have desktop here. We have mouse pointer, as you can see here, the start, the search box, and the taskbar. Okay, so of course, the desktop includes several types of objects that you use to move around and get work done. So, desktop icons, mouse pointer, start button, and taskbar. Navigating around the desktop. So, using a pointing device, you use a pointing device such as mouse or the touch trackpad to move the mouse pointer. So we have the process here or the procedure. Using the keyboard, a number of features can be accessed through the keyboard. So for example, press the Windows button to open the start menu, press escape to cancel an action, or press tab to move to the next field in the dialog box. For touchscreen, if you have a touchscreen device, so you can follow these procedures. Again, take note everyone, Windows 10 has been designed to work with touchscreen devices as well as it works with a traditional mouse and keyboard and provides the availability for the user to work in tablet mode. In this course, however, you will use a mouse and keyboard. Using the start button and start menu. To work in Windows 10, you begin at the Start menu. And to open the Start menu, you can click the Start button or press the Windows key. The Windows 10 Start menu includes a classic pop-up menu on the left and a panel of application shortcuts called Tiles in the middle. Your user account icon display at the top left of the Start menu. Click your username to access commands to lock the screen, sign out, or change your account setting. Along the left side of the Start menu are shortcuts to the most used and most common programs, apps, and settings. Click an item to launch the program or access the setting. Some items display a right-facing arrow. Click the arrow to open a submenu of application-specific tasks or items. Click all apps at the bottom of the start menu to see all your apps and programs. Okay, so this will be my references for part 1. So Internet and Computing Course Certification Guide from the CCI Learning Solution Incorporated, Microsoft.com, and Apple.com. So thank you very much and hope to see you in my part 2 discussion about operating system fundamentals. Thank you and good day everyone.